folks, Ariel over here. For today, I want to talk about what you do with eggshells. These are from our chickens. There's a couple duck ones in there as well. And I know a lot of people just use an egg and throw the shell away. Of course, away is a place. It's not, there is no just away that things go to. But these are quite valuable, so we don't want to throw them away or in a landfill or anything else like that. So what we do is when we eat eggs for breakfast or I use them to make anything or whatever, just drop the eggshells in an open container like this, and they'll dry out. These are now thoroughly dry. None of these are like from breakfast this morning. So what I do then, and there's multiple things you can do with this. These could be a mineral supplement in your garden, which we don't need because our soil happens to be extremely high in calcium, so it's the last thing we need in our garden at this location. But some places do need that, and it can be really helpful if you do have low calcium, which we don't, around things like tomatoes and so on. If you want, you can add it, into compost. What we actually do is feed them right back to the chickens, because the chicken makes eggs, they kind of go through her stomach. She makes a little yolk and the white, and and eventually they get the shell around it. That takes quite a bit of the minerals that make up the shell. So what I actually do, since these are from our eggs, is simply once they're dry, take them in my hands and crumble them like that. They don't have to be finely powdered. Our chickens anyway seem to prefer when there's, kind of small chunks, not just powder. But you could do the same thing. And I know people put them in, a blender, a food processor, a coffee grinder, and make this into a very fine powder. And that is probably more helpful if you're wanting to add it into your soil or your compost or something like that, where you might need more calcium. But for our chickens, I know some people grind it into a really fine powder. Ours really seem to like being able to pick up those little pieces like that much better than the powder. I have also, if I had a whole bunch of these, just simply taken my potato masher, like I make mashed potatoes with, and use that. If you see, these are all our own eggshells from our own chickens produced on the property. If I had commercial ones, which I have done this before with ones that I've purchased from a grocery store, then I would bake them just a little bit, just to kill any bacteria or whatever that might have been in the surface. There could be some bacteria on the surface of these, but any bacteria we have on ours was on our chickens and in our chickens yesterday, so we're not bringing some new source of something into them doing this way. But if these had come from just a grocery store egg, I would still crumble them like that and put them in this little pie tin. If I'm doing a whole bunch, I'd do a cookie sheet and then just pop them in the oven at like 200 degrees and leave them there for 10 minutes. They'll start to get just a little bit like caramelized looking brown, but that should be enough heat, or you could do it higher, I suppose. You're probably not going to hurt the minerals on them. Enough heat to just kind of take care of any bacteria that you might be bringing in from somewhere else if you're going to feed it to your chickens. Again, I doubt that would be necessary if what you're wanting to do is put this in your compost or garden. But this is a wonderful thing for, especially if you have chickens or poultry that you're feeding it back to. Because like I said, it takes their little bodies a whole lot of these minerals to keep making these nice strong eggshells. Those are duck eggs. They're actually, I don't know if you can tell, they're a little harder to crush. They're thicker and bigger. And from what I've read, it takes about the equivalent of, because they, of course, just like our bodies, use some calcium in their, for their heart to function and in their bones and all kinds of stuff. So every day it takes them about 3 eggshells worth. They'd have to eat like 3 eggshells worth to take care of all their other body functions, plus build a new eggshell. So when I put these out there, it does not last very long. This whole pile, this whole bowl of eggshells will go away within, probably a day or two. And then we do have also, free choice oyster shell for the chickens to eat when they run out of eggshells. But they actually do seem to prefer eating the eggshell crumbles like this. So we do as much of that as we can. But anyway, hopefully that is a helpful tip if you want to reduce a little bit of waste going out of your house. I think I've even heard of some people, heating it, then powdering it really, really fine in a food processor or something, and then using it as a calcium supplement themselves. I've never played around with that, but definitely if you need a calcium supplement in your garden, your compost, or just for your birds to keep eating, don't ever throw your eggshells away, because these are not waste. These are very, very valuable. And I've also seen a lot of people go through these detailed processes, which I don't think hurt anything other than they take a lot of time to, you know, separate each, because these are all stacked. They're probably stuck together. Those are more duck shells. They are stuck together. But to separate each one, bake them for a specific amount of time, then crumble them, then pulverize them, and then just, you know, feed them back to the birds. And I've found none of that to be necessary at all. Again, I would do the heating to disinfect them if I was bringing in shells from somewhere off of our property. But where these were on our property and they're just going right back on our property, this is what I do. And like I said, if you want to have a whole bunch, and want to do this a little faster than doing it by hand like I'm doing right now, which is what I do most of the time, then a potato masher works really well in a whole bowl to do this to a bunch at once. But yeah, our chickens just seem to really like that larger flake, and we're going to go put these out in the barn for them. And now you know why you shouldn't ever throw your eggshells away, because they're not waste. They're, like most things, a valuable resource. We try to be sure pretty much nothing that comes onto this property ever leaves it again. If it's wood from building, we use the little pieces for other things, like building the ladder up to the chicken's perch. And even if we get down to sawdust, that all goes into the composting toilet, and so on. Anything that was organic material at one point breaks down in the compost and goes back in the garden. So there, we do our best to be sure that everything continues to recycle itself through our property and not go away to things like landfills and so on. Anyway, that is what we do with our eggshells. Down to the last few in the bowl here. Let's go put them in the chicken barn. Here we are down at the chicken barn, where you can see Butterscotch. See who we got in there. Hazel and Tiramisu are all busy laying us eggs. And this little container is what you could do this in anything. This is what I keep their mineral stuff in. So right now we got some oyster shell in there, because I always leave some of that. And because I'll always eat the eggshells off the top fastest. Just pour that in there. This container was just another one of those grain scoops I made with a empty plastic bottle by cutting the bottom off. Then I put a couple screws into the wall there to hold it, but it's worked really well to be their little feeder for all the minerals that they want to eat.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Come back next time for more adventures.
Thanks for watching.